After about 3 months, I finally beat the dinos. The green hair algae was gone for like a day. Remember how I was gonna get 10 to 15 more anemones? I also have 2 pet peeves in the gallery I need to correct, and look at this. I got a new tank for the longfin clownfish. We got a lot to do today. First thing to talk about is the green hair algae. It was doing really well. I was replacing this sponge every day, basically. It's my only filtration, right? I was replacing it every single day, and I noticed that the green hair algae, I let it grow and get really tall and big, and it seemed to not be holding on as strong. So I went through and I just did a huge removal, removed a ton of the algae. And then within a few days, look, it's back. So I was like, why is it growing back so quickly? So I did a water test, especially my phosphates, and turns out without that green hair algae to consume all of those phosphates, my phosphates were at 0.25, I believe. So they were super high. So what did I do? I went ahead and I've been replacing this daily, and then let's see if we can see here. I went ahead and I added just a small amount of GFO into that bag there. I haven't tested it in a few days, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to keep fighting it. I'm not doing any sort of vibrant or razor treatment. I just want to handle it naturally. So it might take me a few months, but we'll keep doing it. The other big thing I need to do, which I'm just not going to do today because I don't have the time, is this bubble coral. This is just a bad spot for the bubble coral. I don't know if you can see. You probably can see. This bubble coral used to be all the way down here, and it's slowly receded, and you can see it's receding up towards the MP10, so the current is just too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into my new tank, which we'll talk about a little bit more at the end. But other than that, the tank's doing just fine. I do want to replace this tank. I want to get something 40 gallons and just put up a little better aquascape and just pack it with coral. So that'll be coming soon. So you guys remember how I was going to add 10 to 15 anemones this week? I had the order in. It was going to be shipped on Monday. And then I talked with a friend of mine, her Nano Reefs. You can follow her on Instagram and on YouTube. And she convinced me, because, by the way, she is an anemone expert. She convinced me to wait. And the reason she told me to wait was primarily because of this anemone right here, which was sick. It's looking a lot better now, but every single day it was completely deflating, expunging its entire stomach contents, gaping mouth, and every day it was doing that. Not only that, but I also have a green anemone on the other side, which you probably can't even see, but I'll take a little picture of it. And it just hasn't been good since it's arrived at all. So she's like, you know what? They could have a bacterial infection. And I was like, what? Anemones can have bacterial infections? Like, how did I not know that? So she suggested that I actually pull the anemone out and do an antibiotic treatment. Well, I'm not doing that just because I don't want to disturb everything else in the tank, but I need to wait. So I'm waiting, and as long as this anemone keeps doing well for a couple weeks, I will go ahead and get that shipment. Even though she suggests to only get like 1 to 2 at a time, I probably will add quite a few more, even though that's probably not best practice. But that's why you don't see any other anemones. And not only is that anemone doing better, which is great, but you'll see these anemones I've had in the other tanks. They're okay, but they're so small. And I think I need to start feeding them, and I think I can finally start feeding them because the other anemones seem to be okay. I know you're not supposed to feed them if they're stressed, but I think they're okay now. So I have 3 of these little ones I need to start feeding, and hopefully they will grow. I also have 2 longfin clownfish, and they were bonus ones. They're the premium black storm longfins. They're sent to me by Sea and Reefs. Thank you guys so much. But I am worried that because they're different than the rest of the premium black ice, that they're going to be picked on. So I actually went ahead and bought a new tank for them. I literally just said, you know what? They need a new tank. I've wanted a little Peninsula tank. So we are going to get that tank set up and cycling in a little bit in this video so that we can move those 2 clowns over next week. And my plan for that tank is literally to just take tons of these frags, softies, LPS, and just move them over there and make it this beautiful little LPS softy tank. So this is my Watchman Goby. He is doing really well. He's getting super fat and keeping that sand bed really clean. So I actually haven't had to do any sort of cleaning of the sand bed between him, a whole bunch of ceratid snails I added in there, and I have 2 conches as well. Yes, I do have to be careful because he has loved digging so much, and he has completely covered one of the rocks in the back with sand. So if he chooses to do that on the anemones, that's obviously going to be a problem. So I'm going to have to keep watching him, and hopefully he won't do that, but I'm sure he will at some point. I have a little story to tell. We're on to the 40-gallon breeder tank. I just tried 20 minutes to capture this fish, so here's the footage I'm going to show you while I'm telling you this story, and it's the best I could get, sorry. About a week ago, my wife tells me after I wake up, she's like, well, I might have some good news for you, and I might have some bad news for you. I'm like, okay, it's got to be about the fish. She's like, well, I walked out this morning, and I saw the 6-line wrasse on the ground next to the tank, right? This is where the 6-line wrasse lives, right here. And she's like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to contaminate the fish. So I went into the kitchen and I got a paper towel, scooped it up, and then left it on the kitchen counter because I was going to show you. And then about 5 minutes later, the 6-line wrasse wriggled and scared my wife. And she rushed over and threw it in the tank. So we know for a fact that that 6-line wrasse was out of the water for at least 5 minutes, but probably longer than that. Within 1 or 2 days, look at the 6-line wrasse. I don't know. I mean, if you were to put me underwater for 5 to 15 minutes, I would be dead. But for some reason, this 6-line wrasse just jumped out, escaped out of the little crack in the mesh screen, and was able to survive for like 15 minutes. Possibly. I mean, it could have been longer. It was at least 5 minutes out of the water. So good job, 6-line wrasse. Don't jump again, all right? Do you guys remember I made this video, November 6th, I looked it up last year about how I was going to beat dinoflagellates. And part of it was I was going to put in this UV sterilizer, which of course you can't see, it's too dark, but there's a UV sterilizer there. And I had all these steps I was going to do. Check out the video. Well, it has been a little bit more than 3 months. And guess what? The dinoflagellates are gone. It's completely gone from the tank, which I'll show you some close-up of corals that I took. Nothing in the display tank, but there was some that was hanging on down here in the refugium. And what would happen is it would pool near the top, and it would clump together. And so I would just put my hand in there and scoop it out. There was like some cyano on there and also some dinos, and I would just scoop it out. And I did that a few times, and look at it now. It's gorgeous. So check out that video. The plan worked. The plan worked. It did take 3 months, though. I mean, it took 3 months, like I said it would. So if you're going to try to beat dinos, be patient. But the plan I put in place in that video from November 6th actually works. So if you're having the same problem, I found success. I'm not saying you're going to find success, but it seemed to work for me. Let's talk NO3 and PO4 in this tank. First of all, the NO3, I have a pet peeve. Okay, it's been a little bit higher recently, like 5 to 10. So I've been changing out the filter sock more. And I've actually started to try to adjust this Bubble Mega skimmer. But let me just tell you something here. I'm going to take it down low, right? I adjust it using a little knob. That's what you adjust, and it adjusts the overall water height in the chamber, okay? You use this little thing, and you just twist it. That's all you do, right? Well, like a tiny millimeter adjustment will make this overflow, and it's been constant for me. Like, for something about this Bubble Megas, which I've liked, I can't seem to get the kind of skim I want, because when the nitrates are higher, I want to get a wetter skim. Now, this is obviously way too wet because it was just bubbling over, right? But I can't seem to get a wet skim. It's either a super dry skim or it completely bubbles over. And I've just had this problem over and over again with the skimmer. So a little bit of a pet peeve with this skimmer. The phosphates have been high, right? They've been high. So what have I done? And I've tried. I mean, I do weekly water changes. I do all sorts of stuff to keep the phosphate levels down. And it just doesn't work, right? So what did I do? I finally added some GFO, and it works good. You can see it tumbling in there. It works fine. But it wouldn't fit. It just would not fit in this container here. So look at this. Look at what I had to do. I had to set it on top of here, right? And then look at this. I had to connect it to this little, what do you call that thing? It's a little a ball valve, right? A little ball valve. And then it goes down here with all these connectors. I have a little elbow right there. And then it goes all the way down into a pump. It works. I'm a little worried that one of these where the flexible tubing meets is going to burst at some point. But for now, it works just fine. I used whatever flexible tubing I had around. And lastly, some of the corals just aren't growing. Some of them are growing great, of course, like the Anthelia and the toadstool is growing great. But some of them just aren't growing. The zoas are doing great, of course. I just need to do a better job of monitoring my calcium alkalinity, which I do. I test it weekly. I'm not exactly sure why they're not growing, but let me just show you a close-up. Some of the corals are growing, some of them really aren't. But here's a close-up of all the corals. I'm using this new camera, this Olympus Tough. It's a Tough something. They don't make them anymore, but somebody turned me on to this a while ago. It's underwater macro lens, fantastic. So check out some of these. Videos I took with that camera and just see. Some of these are doing okay, some of these aren't. I'm going to be taking some of these corals and moving them into the new Peninsula tank that I'll show you guys here shortly. Gallery pet peeve alert. This has been bugging me. Can you guys just look here? Let me sneak out of the way, right? Can you guys look and see what's bugging me? There's actually a few things that are bugging me, and we're gonna fix them today. The first thing that is bugging the cradola out of me is, you see these things right here? I bought these. These are little footstools. They're heavy-duty footstools, and I bought them to hide the 5-gallon auto top-off reservoir. So there's a bucket in there, and there's a bucket over here, very dark right here, right? And the problem is right now, the one directly behind me, you can't sit on it because right now the tubing is coming out of it. So if you sit on it, it'll pinch it. So I need to drill a little hole in there. I have some huge amount of wire organization I need to do because this has just become a mess. And I actually bought a new one of these new Wi-Fi outlets. So let's get to that. Let's do this project before we go on to project, oh my gosh, number 2, and get this cycling, which I'm really excited about. I've always wanted like a desktop Peninsula tank, and look at this. I get to work right here, and while I'm working right here, I get to stare at my new fish. Okay, we got the first one done. We're just gonna speed up now, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna take the reservoir, we're gonna move it over to here, and we're gonna move the dosing pumps over here as well, and then we'll check back in when we're done with that. So here's just a little time lapse. Tell you guys, this is like a nightmare trying to get this stupid RODI reservoir. It's because I'm using the Toonsy osmolator that I've used for like 5 years, and that's absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong. There's so many wires, and the wires just won't reach from my control board all the way over to here. So I had to undo everything, take everything apart, and now I still have all my dosing containers, and the wires just look like crap. So I think I need to organize the wires quickly. I'm not gonna do a good job. I'm gonna do a good enough job. That way I can install the new Wi-Fi outlet and then probably have to move my dosing pumps over here, but I don't have a home for them. So I don't know, let's just see what happens. That was such a pain. That took me an hour and a half at least. Half the wires had been added since the original control board was set up, so I didn't even have labels on them, so I had to figure out where they went. But let me just show you before and after pictures. Ready? It actually looks a lot better, so I think it's going to look a lot better in the gallery. So much better. Look at it. It's beautiful. It took me way longer than I thought it was going to. Of course it did, the wire management, but it's clean again, and I think it looks just nicer in general, which is fantastic. But we're not done yet today. We got one more thing to do because I want to move these 2 long fin clownfish, and I need to, in order to do that, can you even see it? I got a 14-gallon Peninsula right here. So we gotta set that up. It's a nice tank. I'm not gonna talk too much about it right now, but let's get it set up. I have some live rock I wanna rinse out. We're going with a bare bottom. I got an AI prime light. Just rinse stuff out, and then I wanna get it cycling so that I can move those clowns in about a week. So let's finish up with that.